My name is Marina, and today I'm going to talk to you about my AI journey. As you may or may not know, I have over 15 years of experience in the field of technology. Specifically, I focus on product management in AI. I'll tell you what is it, I'll tell you what I do, and I'll tell you how I got there. So if you're interested about doing product management in AI, watch this. Back in the day when I started working in the data field, because it was no AI, again, it was not called AI. It was just data. And how I started to work on that is because I actually was studying operation management and information systems. I was never thought that there was such thing as a computer science degree. It was not in my purview, I guess. I did not know that was a thing. And so the closest thing that I knew, because I have a family of entrepreneurs, is to study business, but I also was interested in technology. So at business school, they give this major that was basically operation management and information systems, which is the information portion and operations part of the business itself. And so I fell in love with data. At some point after I fell in love with data and I had over at least 10 years of career, which I can fill in later at this point. At some point after 10 years of career, I discovered AI specifically. And how it started was data science. And data science is basically the concept of using statistics and algorithms and the combination of that and data in order to try to automate specific tasks that in the past were mostly done by humans. Think about something called expert systems. Expert system is basically a replica of any task and activity that you can give instructions about. So if you had to say microwave something, you can give an instruction and say open the microwave, if you have holding a plate already, you can say put a plate in the microwave and close the microwave. That's an expert system. It's a system that can replicate exactly what a human would. Now, it's really hard for machines to replicate exactly what humans do. And so that's why AI is keep pushing the envelope, is because imagine, I'll give you the perfect example. Imagine I'll give you a bag, and the bag, you don't know what's in there, but I'll tell you fetch the apple. And what you would do as a human is, if you had a bag and you cannot see what's in there, you will put your hands inside and whoosh the hand around and feel what's inside until you find something that kind of feels and touches like an apple, and pull it out and grab it and pull out the apple. A machine is unable to do that at this point with the same minimal amount of sensors that the human body would have. Imagine how would you even tell it, right? To perform this task is impossible. And so AI is basically a field that tries to imitate the human brain and the human sensors. Yeah, we have five type of sensors on our bodies, in a combination of, and in order to imitate human intelligence and then super intelligence, all those things. When I first also heard about AI, I fell in love. I mean, there's nothing more that I love to delegate tasks to a machine that I do not want to do. There's so much that I do not want to do that I'm trying to get rid of in my life and would love a machine to take on for me. And it's not about like the disappearance of human tasks, because I feel like humans can always improve on that. It is really about making our lives a little bit lighter, but not having to perform those things that are obsolete and honestly sometimes a waste of time. Now, if you tell me you love to do that thing and it's your passion to perfect it to an extent that you don't think a machine could, then kudos to you, because that's a thing that humans do extremely well. But for a lot of tasks I feel in our life that we do not want to focus on, we could have AI or a machine do. And I think that's what fascinates me personally about AI, is the ability to really free your life and live with purpose for the things. So like I was saying, I studied operation management and information systems in college. And then through my college experience, I found out that computer science was actually a thing. And so I started taking classes in computer science department, and I loved coding. So I minored in computer science, and I started working out of college. I've worked So I took classes in the computer science department, but because I wanted to graduate, because I did not have anybody paying for my school, I was not able to finish and get a minor in science. But I got enough classes where I knew how to code. And so my first job, official job out of college, I worked through college in offices and doing logistics and operations. But my first, I guess, quote unquote, real full-time job out of college was doing back-end development for a warehouse management system. Think about like what Amazon uses on their website, but the system that manages all of that. And so we did custom work for a warehouse management system called Reprairie at the time. And I was basically a full-time coder and a back-end coder there. The cool thing about being in warehouse management system is that you learn that the most important thing about systems is the data in it. And so that's really when I told you, like, I fell in love with data. I fell in love with data because I was realizing the power that the data, the movement of data, and that's all systems do, is move data around, move information around. And the power of this information is really what you make. So you could have little power by storing this data and never look at it again, or you could have a lot of power by compiling this data into something called the internet and then training an LLM model and then creating ChatGPT. There's a lot of power in data, and I fell in love with the power that I think data could have a system. So after this job, then I moved to an e-commerce company. At the time, Kmart.com and Sears.com were looking for people. And in their analytics department, I started working in their big data products. And so I saw the transition from a relational database management system, or RDBMS, which is a SQL system. Don't worry, it's a database. If you don't know what it means, it's just a database. A database is a place where we store data into what we called big data and data lakes. And so I saw the whole transitions and was part of the coding of the all transitions, saw the transition to other systems like Cassandra. Why is this important? If you don't know what I'm saying, is because there are we were evolving the way we store data and we gather in data. So there was a moment in time, like because of the limitation with technology in the beginning of my career, we couldn't store as much data. But then better and more compute performance databases came along that we were able to extract more data from the interactions our users had and store more data. And so what happens is that with more data, you can actually analyze more data and get more insights out of it. And so this big data lake, big data trend started happening when we would want to gather as much data as possible about our business, about our customers, about the interactions. And you know what problems that caused. I mean, privacy, wasn't being concerned and all those things. And so at the time we did our best to try to be ethical about it, but there was no real policy around this. And so policy came later after the day. Nonetheless, we were gathering information about customers, about the business, and trying to merge those two in order to get a business advantage, in order to better serve our customer, in order to understand how the business was doing, what improvements were to be made, how we could reduce cost or improve revenue. And so a lot of those first machine learning projects using statistic and predictive analytics in order to create these opportunities for the business started because we were able to gather this much data and able to join systems together that never before spoke to each other. In my later years, then I started managing teams and building products with AI. I built AI products at an IoT company, in which we took sensor data and actually created predictive analytics for IoT devices, as well as health tech and social. I worked at Meta for a few years, and my last gig was a Stack Overflow. And so I have seen AI in a myriad across industry concept. I mentioned logistics, e-commerce, IoT, health tech, social. And so the challenges with data and AI in all these different contexts are vary, first of all. And so I have exposed myself to a wide set of challenges that data and AI have to solve. And so I think that's one of the things that most fascinated me about the world of data and AI is like the fact that it can span different industries. But the problems are not that different in most of the industries. So I really enjoyed that part of my job. Some of the most challenging aspect when confronted with the AI, well, I think there are many, and I think it comes with doing the thing and researching the thing and studying the thing that you really get comfortable with the thing. I don't know why I said thing so many times there, but I think some of in the beginning, some of the most challenging parts were really understanding data scientists and statisticians and mathematicians. I'm not especially good in statistics, so what I did is I did go through a data science bootcamp myself in order to gain that knowledge of how do they do what they do and what do they do and how is it possible that this machine can learn how to do this. So I learned the skill myself, and that's kind of like my process of how I do it. So I went through a 6-week bootcamp. It was a full-time bootcamp. I was on maternity leave. This is a story for a different video. But I did that, and that has really helped a lot my career in terms of working with data scientists, understand their language, working with engineers, understand the language, working with the business and understand the language. And as a product manager, you got to merge all those things together and actually create a solid product that makes sense, the customer wants to buy, and the business wants to sell. Nowadays, AI is moving at an unprecedented speed, and it could seem really hard to stay ahead of the game. The reality is that only a few are going to be caught in the edge of AI, and that most of other businesses are going to be laggards of AI. It takes an incredible amount right now of manpower in order to produce a large language model like something like ChatGPT. And not every business, especially small businesses or medium business, can afford to do that. But they will be able to use the solutions that these other businesses create in order to improve their business. And I think that's going to be more exciting, because that's actually when the mass effect of scale will happen of AI. What I mean is, if one company builds an AI system and only one company uses it, then nobody cares about it. But if one company builds an AI system and a lot of people use it, then it becomes relevant for the everyday life of people. And so that's the part that I'm most excited about, when AI truly becomes part of our daily. I want to share some of the projects I've worked on in AI that is especially close to my heart. And not all of these are AI, as in like superhuman computing AI, but they use a combination of data and some type of predictive analytics, machine learning, or what we call now AI, in order to improve some type of business process or human. The first project I want to share is a project that I worked on really early in my career when I was working in a beer delivery company in Chicago. It was a really good time. We could have beers after work. It was really fun. The challenge that we were faced is actually quite serious. One, as a router, which is a person who does the routes for the trucks every day for deliveries in a busy city like Chicago with a lot of traffic, is extremely important, extremely critical to learn the patterns of the drivers and to learn the streets and to learn where traffic flows, how traffic flows on each street. The reason being is because if the driver finds himself delivering, having to deliver and cross the street, or having to exit or cross on the side of the busy street, they're put in extreme danger of traffic. And actually, it's not uncommon. I would like to say it's very uncommon. I think it is very uncommon, but it does happen that a driver gets into a traffic accident and can lose their life if their routes are not done appropriately with safety first, or top of mind. The drivers that I actually work with were so kind, and they will help me and call me. Like, we had to call each other, be like, "Hey Marina, remember this street is one way this way, so it has to be my third stop, not my first stop. And what is the first stop? And what is the fifth stop?" And there was like this pattern that the driver preferred to route their truck. And unfortunately, at the time, we didn't have enough intelligence to be able to do this the right way. But we were able to write a small program in order to make sure that safety was first, and that the driver was able to unload their beer, the cases of beer from the safe side of the truck. And that project is still so dear and near to my life. If you're listening to this and you work to a logistics company, especially with delivery people, use AI. Talk to your drivers and make sure that they stay safe, but also that they deliver the most efficient and effective way. It's so important. The second project I want to talk to you about is about when I used to work in the IoT industry. And IoT stands for Internet of Things, and is about basically gathering data from small sensors, really tiny sensors. And these sensors can be in anywhere. For example, there's a lot of sensors on this camera right now that I'm recording. There's a video sensor, there's a stabilizer sensor, there's a light sensors. There's a lot of sensors in a lot of equipment that we just interact with every day. We just don't know that they're. So we used to take data from big machinery, think windmills, think trucks, think big excavators, and we used to gather this data and then create predictive maintenance analytics with it. And predictive maintenance, basically, the concept is if you can, based on the data and on the sensors, predict when the machine is going to fail, then you can create a maintenance plan that doesn't have the machine break down, which is more costly than if you kind of like fix it along the way. Okay, so why was this project extremely interesting to me? The reason is because we used to gather sensor data at about 250,000 records a second, which is like Twitter speed, if you can think about it. And sometimes it was much higher. And so the sheer engineering challenge of having to gather this data that will come in extremely fast, and then also to be able to tell the user in a very clean and concise way that this is what's happening with the data, was a true engineering and AI challenge. In addition to that, we used to have to gather data from sensors that had poor connections, like they could have been in the middle of the desert or where there was no network. And so how do you handle data that doesn't come in at a specific frequency? How are you able to tell whether it's like broken? Is it missing? Is it malfunctioning? And so we had a lot of those type of challenges that were like a real world, get your hands dirty challenges that I just loved and was fascinated with. One of my best professional brain stimulating projects, I have to say. I think the last project I want to talk to you about is my time at Meta, just because, well, culture was not favorable to me, and again, I can talk about that later. Meta was an extremely fascinating company just from a sheer engineer perspective to work for, because of the sheer amount of people we had to serve in terms of users. So with over 3 billion users. Meta has about 3.6 billion users on all of their platforms. And that is a lot of people. And so from a data perspective, imagine ingesting and processing 3.5 billion people worth of data, which is like a lot. Every like, every share, every watch, everything is recorded. I should have said whatever. I'm here. So everything is recorded. And so basically you're just ingesting just large amount of data. And how they do that is fascinating from an engineering perspective. And just my time at Meta was just extreme, like a learning opportunity that like no other. And so I suggest when you find yourself in this type of projects, and I think we get a lot of those type of advice, but like when you find yourself in like a fascinating challenge, just fall in love with the problem. That's what I do. I fall in love with the problem. I fall in love with the challenge, and I really want to learn as much as possible of how it's solved, because you can always translate that to some other place. And that is the best part, when you actually take something that you learned over here and apply it over here. That is something a machine cannot replicate, and that's why human brains are so special and powerful. one of the big topics of working with AI is the ethical implications of AI. And Europe is way ahead of the curve in terms of ethics in AI compared to the United States of America. Europe already has regulation around AI and can be found online very easily as accessible, while America is still lagging behind in terms of regulating AI and the power that AI has. I think the most simple thing that we can all do when working in an AI project is let the user disclose to the user the fact that they are interacting with an AI system. I think that's the bare minimum that we can do, because it is kind of like the transparency that is needed in order for the user to know what's happening and what is not happening, most important. When I started my AI journey, I never thought it would have come to what it is now. I knew AI and data and machine learning was fascinating, and there was so much opportunity and potential, and there's still so much more. I have a lot of ideas and dreams about what AI could do in the future, but I can never imagine it being so soon. And so I'm super excited to be in the world of AI nowadays. If you or somebody you know is looking to get into the world of AI and really try to make a career out of it, you can always contact me, leave something in the comment. I'll be happy to share more of my experience or any of my contacts and things like that. But also fall in love with AI and the problems with AI. Try to learn as much as possible. AI is never about one thing. Remember that. Technology for the sake of technology, it's not going to do well in the world. AI is always going to be about solving a business problem, a human problem, most important. And so if you can find a way to merge your current experience with technology, I suggest that is the best path in order to get into AI and trying to dip your toes into the experience of artificial intelligence. I was not expecting actually to have so much to say about my journey in AI for some reason, and I don't know why, because I've been doing this for so long. But I hope you really like this video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to comment and let me know what you want to hear about more. Thank you so much for coming. See you next time.